very, very warm here. I think we have a heat wave coming. It's so warm. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Catherine, aka Cat and Stitches. I'm a knitter living in the French Alps, and I share my knitting journey here on YouTube, on Instagram and Patreon. Today I'm going to share with you my summer knitting plans, so grab a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, or a nice fresh beverage, and grab your knitting, your crochet, or any other hobby or craft, and let's jump in. My goal this summer is not to buy any yarn and only use yarn I have in stash to either finish whips that I have already on my needles or for new cast-ons. There is one small exception though, and you'll understand later on in the video. First of all, I'd like to finish my two summer tops I already have on my needles and then cast on new projects. The first work in progress I still have on my needles is the Fleur Cami by Brianna Mason. It's a very cute top with a delicate all over lace pattern that is knit bottom up instead of top down as I'm usually used to. I'm using Knitting for Olive pure silk in this gorgeous blue tit colourway. It's a fingering weight yarn and it is made of 100% cruelty-free silk. In my last podcast I mentioned that I had just finished the body of the top. I have since blocked the bust to double check my gauge before I move on to the top of the garment. And I'm very glad I did this because my gauge is way off. My gauge swatch was correct, but my actual project is off, which is a pain because that means that my top might not fit correctly. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this project because I'm going to save that for my knitting podcast, but this project is turning into an experiment. I can show you where I'm at. I haven't made a lot of progress since last time. So this is the body. It's all blocked now. I'm just getting tangled up. This is what it's looking like. It's very nice. But yeah, I have a gauge problem and I'm trying to figure out what to do. And yeah, so as I said, I'm going to explain all of that in my next podcast episode. So I want to finish this work in project. Why am I saying work in project? Work in progress. So I want to finish this work in progress first with my other work in progress before I move on to casting on new projects, so I don't have too many on at the same time. The second one I have on my needles is, whoop. There it is. No, still not. Ugh. The other one, the second work in progress I have on my needles is my Cumulus Blouse O-neck by Petite Knit. Since my last podcast episode, I have worked mainly on this project. I haven't worked much on the Fleur Cami, but I have really made some progress on the Cumulus Blouse O-neck. And I have finished knitting the body. This is not blocked, but I finished the body. I've done the I-cord edging around the body and also the I-cord edging around the neckline. So again, I'm not going to go into too much detail here because I have also lots to say about this, but I'm going to keep all that for my next podcast episode. Today we're going to talk about summer knitting plans, but I can say that I did mess up the I-cord edging for the body at first. So I had to unravel everything and start again. For this project I'm using Sunless Garn Tin Silk Mohair in colourway 4236, which is deep red. It is held double and it is yarn that I had left from a project I frogged, and I'm still not sure I have enough yarn to finish the sleeves of the project. But yeah, I'll go into more detail in the next podcast. Again, sorry, I'm repeating myself. Now onto the interesting stuff, which is my knitting plans. So the first project I want to cast on, well, I don't know if it's going to be the first one, but the first one I'm going to talk to you about is the Seine Sweater by Marie Régnier. In my stash tour video that's on Patreon, I explained that I had bought a second sweater quantity of Holzgarn super soft yarn by mistake to make the iris pullover. So I have a nice amount of yarn in stash and in different colours. I have 4 skeins of almond, which is this nice cream beige colour, which would make a really nice background colour for a colourwork project. So I also have single skeins of different colours, including brass, coffee, and this is indigo, which is a nice dark blue. I have another one, a lighter blue, which is called denim, truffle, which is a grey, brown and blue mix, and slate grey also, which is a deeper grey. This yarn is a light fingering weight yarn made of 50% merino and 50% Shetland wool. So I had a look around Ravelry and also around the patterns I had saved in my favourites on Ravelry, and I have to say I do have quite a lot. Anyway, I recently saved the Seine Sweater in my favourites and realised that the suggested yarn for this is actually Holzgarn Super Soft, which is perfect. The Seine Sweater is a light fingering jumper pattern that was released in May of this year, so it's quite recent. It's a raglan construction, knitted top down, intended to have between 5 and 15 centimeters of positive ease, which is about between 2 and 6 inches of positive ease. The sleeves are wide, even at the cuffs, which is a bit different for me, but it features a really lovely cable design at the top of the garment, on the body, the back and the sleeves, and the rest of the garment is striped. It's an elegant and elevated version of a marinière, and I love a marinière. For those who might not know what a marinière is historically a long sleeve shirt with horizontal blue and white stripes that was worn by seamen and the French Navy, and it has since become an everyday type of design in fashion. It's also regularly associated to French people from a foreign point of view. When you want to the image of a French person typically has a French marinière, a beret and a baguette. Anyway, back to knitting. I really love this jumper design. I loved it as soon as I saw it for the first time. It's elegant, timeless, it's gorgeous, and I really want to knit this, and I think it would be a nice garment to knit this summer because even though it's wool, it's lightweight and it uses light fingering weight yarn, and I think it would be okay. I'm wondering if I will try washing the yarn before using it because Holzgarn Super Soft still has spinning oil in it when you buy it, and therefore it is very rough to the touch, especially when you knit with it. It's not very easy on your hands, it's not very enjoyable. The spinning oil does wash out when you wash and block the garment or your knitted garment, and the yarn really blooms when you wash it a few times, but I have seen some people wash the yarn before using it, and I've never tried this before. Apparently it's easier on your hands and it's more enjoyable to use, so I might try this out, maybe on one skein just to see how it goes. if it's easy to do and if it's really worth the hassle, if you know what I mean. So I'll let you know how that goes. I'll have to see what Marie suggests in the pattern instructions, if she mentions this or not. I'll just have to make sure that I do test my gauge the same way she suggests in the pattern, so I don't get the whole garment off gauge. For the colour choice, I'm going to use colorway Almond for the background colour, as I said. For the contrasting colour, I was hesitating between 3 colorway options, and these were Indigo, which is this really nice deep blue, and I think that this colour combo would be the most classic for a marinière, like white and blue, so it's a white creamy and a deep blue. They really go well together. There's also Coffee, which is a really nice, rich and warm dark brown, and this combo is giving warm and cozy autumnal vibes, and it's also somewhat classic and would go with a lot of outfits in my opinion. Yeah, I really like that combo. And the last combination I can do is combine the almond with brass, which is this gorgeous golden colour. This combo has less contrast though, because the brass is lighter than the other options, but they still go very well together. I asked your opinion on Instagram and you voted for the coffee and almond combination, which honestly is also what my heart is leaning towards anyway. So I'm going to go with this. It's so warm. The next project I want to cast on this summer is the Be My Tulip top by Camille. I did talk about this project in my previous podcast. This top is a delicate, romantic overall lace top with buttons in front, a v-neck shaped neckline. It's knitted bottom up like the Fleur Cami, and it's knitted flat in one piece. It's not knitted in the round this time. The pattern suggests about 3 centimeters of negative ease and 5, I think, centimeters of positive ease, which corresponds to about 118 inches of negative ease and just under 2 inches of positive ease. The pattern also uses sport weight yarn, but I'm going to use BC Garn Alino, which is DK weight yarn, made of 50% cotton and 50% linen. And I will be using colorway Bordeaux, which I already have shown you before. And I think on camera it's way darker than in real life. I'm very sorry. I know that this yarn isn't the recommended yarn weight, but I did do a gauge swatch and I hit gauge on the recommended needle size, which is 3.5mm needles or US 4 needles, and so it should be okay. Although I have noticed that my gauge is different between my gauge swatches and the final pattern I'm knitting. So I will have to check my gauge again once I've knitted a few centimeters off the body, I think, just to double check everything and make sure it's going to fit in the end. And if I need to make any modifications, like I'm gonna maybe have to do for the Fleur Cami. For oversized garments such as jumpers, it's not that big of a problem to have a slight difference in gauge, in my opinion, because the construction is quite forgiving concerning gauge. But for garments that need negative to no ease, a few more centimeters or a few less centimeters will have a big impact on the final measurements and fitting of the garment. And fixing your work and adapting the pattern in these cases tend to be more tricky, I think, especially if they have special constructions at the top and it's not just basic, like a drop shoulder construction is quite basic in my opinion. If it has a v-neck and short, very small shoulder, I don't know, it has special shaping, you know what I mean, and a pattern also included in it, then it gets tricky, and I'll figure it out. Next, I've been talking about casting on some socks for a while and still haven't cast on anything. I've been concentrated on my whips and I didn't want to cast on another project. But I do have some yarn in stash and I have 2 sock patterns in mind. The first one is the cord socks that I already talked to you about. This pattern is by Audrey Borrego. It's a free pattern now on Ravelry because all of her patterns are free now. This pattern is a pair of textured socks. The socks have this really nice diamond pattern on the top of the sock that goes all the way from the cuff to the toes. What I like about this pattern is that it's not an overall texture, so I think I'll be able to adjust the size of the sock more easily by changing the number of stitches on each side of the textured pattern. I have about 400 meters of this yarn in stash. This is Irish Fairy Tale Yarns, pure merino in colorway peach that I bought at Knit Eat last October. It's a fingering weight yarn made of 100% merino and it does not have any nylon in it. So I don't know how the socks are gonna wear and last, but I'm still going to use it because I have it in a stash and I want to use it. I did knit a teeny tiny gauge swatch on 2mm needles, I think, and I did not meet the recommended gauge. So I'm going to have to calculate how many stitches I need to cast on to fit my feet and to fit the pattern too. I did do some research on internet and found some very helpful blog posts that explain how to calculate the number of stitches you need to knit a sock to fit the measurements of your own foot. And I'll put a link to the posts in the description box below, so if that's helpful for you, because it really helped me out and helped me understand and demystify the math behind sock knitting. The second sock pattern I really want to knit is the Fiorita Socks by Marie-Eve Wedge. These socks are so beautiful. They're worked cuff down and have a gorgeous Estonian inlay, that's how you say it I think, Estonian inlay floral motif that runs from the cuff to the toes on the top of the sock. They also have a very cute picot cuff and that gives an extra finishing touch to the sock and just elevates the design even more. And I really am in love with this design, it's really nice. I have some Sunless Gone Sisu in colorway 2321, which is marzipan I think, in my stash. That would be great for the background colour, but I only have one skein, which is about 175 meters, and I'm gonna have to buy more if I want to knit both socks. So yeah, I won't have enough with one skein. So I know I said that my goal was not to buy any yarn this summer, but this is going to be the exception if I decide to cast them on, that is, because I just don't have enough, so I'm going to have to buy a skein or two of this. The pattern recommends 400 meters of fingering weight yarn, so this is fingering weight yarn. It is made of 80% wool and 20% nylon. I don't think the project is going to use the whole 400 meters of sock yarn recommended, and I don't have enough sock knitting experience to know how much I'm going to need. So just to be sure I have enough, I think I'm going to buy enough to have around 400 meters of yarn, and I think that is 2 extra skeins. For the contrasting colour, Marie-Eve explains that you only need 50 meters of fingering weight yarn for all sizes. So that's very helpful. And I have leftover yarn. I have 2 leftover yarns. Initially I was thinking of using this one, which is Trelise Yama in colorway Cardinal, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I do have a lot of this left. was thinking of using this one, but I think that instead I'm going to use this one, which is also a fingering weight yarn. This is Itenavilla Yarns Rosalind in colorway Brazil. I think this would look really nice together. It's a slightly variegated pink yarn that's made of 70% alpaca, 20% silk and 10% cashmere. It's super luxurious and soft, very soft. And I have about 120 meters left, so that's really more than enough, and I think this is going to be very nice with the Seine Sweater. If I can get all of my works in progress finished quickly and manage to finish the Be My Tulip top and the Seine Sweater, I'd like to start on my Tessa Sweater by Irene Lin. I'd like to be able to wear it in autumn and winter, and I also have some other exciting plans for this autumn and winter that will also take some time to knit. I already have the yarn for this project, which was gifted to me for my birthday by friends and family. I chose the same yarn and colour that Irene used in the version that's in the pattern photos, and which is a Maho, I think it's called Mayo Garn Tweed Supreme in colorway Linen, with Mayo Garn Pearl Mohair in colorway Oatmeal. These yarns are beautiful. I really can't wait to use them. The Tweed Supreme is a fingering weight yarn made of 100% merino wool with, as the name suggests, a tweed effect, and it's nice and soft and squishy. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see like bits of yarn, coloured yarn in there. Really nice. The skeins are really gorgeous. The pearl mohair is extremely soft in my opinion. Yeah, it's way softer than the Sanders Garn Tin Silk Mohair because it doesn't contain any wool, and yeah, it's made of 70% mohair and 30% silk. Personally, I do find Sanders Garn Tin Silk Mohair a bit itchy on my skin, but this feels so soft. The pattern uses 3 strands of yarn held together. 2 strands of the Tweed Supreme plus 1 strand of pearl mohair, and calls for 6mm needles or US 10 for the body and 5mm needles or US 8 for the hem of the body, and 4.5mm needles or US 7 for the ribbing of the neckline and the cuffs. I don't think I've used 6mm needles for a garment before, and I think it's going to knit up really fast. I think 6mm needles are going to feel very big. Plus the body and sleeves aren't simple stockinette stitch. They have this nice cable and ribbing that kind of looks like a fisherman's rib or half fisherman's rib, I'm not very sure. And I think this will make the knitting quite engaging, and therefore I might end up knitting this even faster than stockinette stitch, because when you have a jumper that's just simple stockinette, I find that you can't really see the progress you're making on the body. It just feels never ending, and when you have something going on like a pattern, it's more engaging to get to the next part of the pattern, you know what I mean? The pattern is worked top down. It looks like a yoke construction. I'm not sure because I don't have the pattern yet, so I can't check, but according to the photos it looks like a yoke. There are 2 neckline options. You can either have a turtleneck or a folded neckband, and I think I'm going to go for the folded neckband. I just think that this version of the neckline fits the overall design of the jumper better. This jumper is intended to have a lot of ease, which I love, and the sleeves do look very large without a lot of decreases at the end. It looks so comfortable and so soft and cozy, and I can't wait to feel the fabric this yarn is going to make knitted up. So there we have it for my summer plans. I'm not going too crazy on number of projects because I know that I'm not going to be able to knit hundreds of projects. And yeah, I do want to finish my current works in progress. I do have one summer top I want to cast on. I do have one lightweight jumper I want to cast on, possibly 2 sock patterns, at least one. And I'd like to try to start on my big, cozy, comfy jumper. I already have some ideas for my autumn plans and winter plans, and I already feel quite excited about them. But let's get these done first. One knit at a time, more or less. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't too short, and let me know in the comments what your summer plans are. Are you going to knit some more summer tops? Are you going to knit any, maybe a dress? I've seen some people knit dresses too. It's always a pleasure to discover some new patterns and new ideas in the comments, so don't hesitate to share. I hope you have a wonderful summer and happy knitting. Bye!